Now, I want to introduce you to some women who are doing some fabulous work. We're turning our attention now to the 70s and the Museum of UnCut Funk. Now, it's the first virtual museum dedicated to the celebration and preservation of 70s era of funk. That's why I introed you with the P-Funk, because they are celebrating that time when black culture was the mothership of all things funky around the world. So we got Pamela Thomas. She's a former art gallery owner and now professor of black culture and history. And we also have Lorraine Williamson. And they are avid collectors of black memorabilia of the 70s. And they've amassed a large collection of animation cells and comic books and other items that represent this era. Pamela Ring, welcome to African Diaspora Today.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Listen, we've got some black cartoonists and animators live in studio, so you're joining a conversation we've been having for a minute. But I really want you to tell people about your virtual museum, what it does, how they can access it.
Well, our museum is, as you mentioned, called the Museum of UnCut Funk, and it's basically geared towards the preservation of 1970s black popular culture. Over the past 13 years, we have collected blaxploitation movie posters, American and international, comic books featuring black superheroes, and Broadway movie posters of all of the black Broadway shows that have appeared in New York. And we have a very interesting collection of black animation, all of the Saturday morning cartoons from the 1970s. And within that collection, we have original production cells and original production drawings.
Well, that's pretty exciting. When I got your information at my museum, I said, oh, my goodness, this is just in time for the show. And anytime I can introduce something about funk that Turtel didn't already know, I really am proud. So you guys have to get to know each other because they're having a convention here next week, the Black Age of Comics. I'm sure you're a little familiar with that. This is the 13th one, right?
Yes, it is. Oh, Uncut Funk.
So who views, how can one go on and see the museum?
Well, the address for the museum is called www.museumofuncutfunk.com. And we have our entire collection on the website. We have a 5,000-piece plus collection of 1970s black popular culture. And if I may, I would just like to let your guests and your audience know that our animation collection includes original artwork from Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids, the Jackson 5, Muhammad Ali, I Am the Greatest, the Harlem Globetrotters, Valerie from Josie and the Pussycats, Lieutenant Yehudu from Star Trek, the animation series, Verb from Schoolhouse Rock, Billy Joe Jive, which was a Sesame Street character, and Franklin from the Peanuts. And we have recently acquired some new animation, the Black Vulcan, Green Lantern featuring Jon Stewart, Dee Dee from Captain Caveman and the Teen Angels, Astria from Space Centennials, and Super Stretch and Micro Woman from Tarzan and the Super 7.
All right, it sounds like you guys have been busy.
Yeah,
and we're going to have Dr.
We're
Cosby.
children of the 70s, so we love this stuff.
We're going to have Dr. Cosby on the show today.
Well, terrific.
Yes.
Terrific. Yeah, we're, huge fans of Fat Albert, of course.
Well, for those of us who are not as familiar with the technical aspects of this, what do you mean when you say you have the cells?
Well, we actually have the original artwork that was hand-inked and painted that was used under the camera to create the cartoons. And what's cool about it, in addition to the fact that it features black characters, it's 40-year-old artwork, so it's rare. is that it's a lost art form these days. So, as you all were talking about earlier, everything is really done digitally today. But, back in the day, there were actually people who painted, kind of every scene and every movement of a character, and it was filmed to create a cartoon. And, a lot of the cells were actually washed. A lot of the paint was washed off of the acetate because the material was kind of expensive. So, anytime you're able to acquire original production work, it's kind of a special and a rare thing because a lot of the cells were destroyed, and it's not something that people do today to produce cartoons. So it's definitely historical for a number of reasons.
This is really exciting. This is Tertel talking.
Mm-hmm.
In my past, I used to be a freelance illustrator, and I did work for George Clinton.
Oh.
Okay, and Captain Sky.
Mm-hmm.
And a good friend of mine was the main architect of all those old, exciting Funkadelic album covers.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And fortunately, Pedro, that's his name, Pedro Bell, he's still among us. And, maybe we could network in some opportunities, that could be shared between us in that regard.
Yeah, I think you all could definitely hook up.
Yeah, in addition to, the animation and the movie posters, I am a huge Funketeer, the mothership. I'm convinced it's still going to come and pick me up.
I am a Funketeer also.
Yeah, it's still out there.
And I have, have spent hours and hours and hours reading and loving those album covers. So I would love to have that conversation. We would love to connect with you.
Well, I'll let you in on a near miss. When Bootzilla came out, Mattel and Intellivision was going to do a Bootzilla doll, and they just really couldn't come to terms on the slice of the pie. There were so many people that wanted to get a piece of it, and I was one of the people that was slated to be on the design team of the project. And if you listen to the lyrics of Bootzilla, being programmable, et cetera, it was beyond cutting edge. It was like sort of predicting the future of how things were going to go. And, so they were really innovative, beyond just thinking music. It was a lot of concepts that were coming down.
So listen, Pamela Reed, which one of you all is the HCIC?
Well, we'll say that's Pamela.
Head curator in charge.
As the curator. So that would be Pamela. I am, happy to be supporting a cast member in this whole endeavor. So,
there's I think the word is called ethos, where things just seem to happen with a natural connection. Because recently, Bootsy launched Funk University.
Yes, we're aware
he's
of that.
actually teaching and got professors and the whole thing.
I'm going to apply for a job.
It's anything
it's fucking happen for me.
Right.
Yeah, anything that anybody's doing to preserve, again, what we think is one of the most important decades from a black history perspective, and clearly one of the coolest as far as we're concerned. But anything that can be done to preserve, any aspect, whether it be animation or, some of the things that were happening from a film perspective, which, kind of filtered into comic books clearly, and definitely anything being done to preserve the music, which we believe is one of the last original forms of black music where people actually play instruments is critically important. So that's really what, in addition to just loving everything about the decade, what we're really dedicated to doing.
This is Camille Bose. I have a quick question for you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if you all came across Andre 3000's animation, Class of 3000.
No, actually we haven't.
Well, it's a really wonderful animation project, and there's lots of funk in it. I mean, it's Andre 3000. So
yeah, they have it. So they're on top of the funk thing.
We will have to check that out.
I'm curious.
Now, this is his animated series that was on television?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with the animated series. However, we have not acquired, if it's still in production, not been able to acquire any of the animation for that. Generally, when television shows are still in production, they It's very hard to get your hands on any type of animation. And now that more people are becoming aware of collecting animation, whether it's black animation, Disney, Warner Brothers, Looney Tunes, what have you, it is becoming much more harder to source.
So you guys, people competing with you now to get this product?
Well, I'll be very honest with you. Black animation you can come by. It is not in the hands of people of color. And therefore, that is one of the reasons why we made a conscious decision to create this museum, because going to various shows, acquiring art from different dealers, we never saw anyone that looked like us acquiring this art. So that's why, we took it upon ourselves to create this museum and to showcase this art, because we feel it's very important and we should be representing it.
You make an important point when you talked about the ownership part. One of the things with the Black Age, it's predominantly an independent movement. Mm-hmm. So we're all independent publishers, and the yin and yang of that is we control our properties and our products and the means of distribution and that type of thing. Conversely, I happen to own a cell. You got me thinking about it. Mm-hmm. I own a cell of Bishop from a X-Men, project. Mm-hmm. But the talking about ownership of the property, whether it's a treasure that's collectible or intellectual property that you're looking to build, a source of income and a money stream from, ownership is crucial.
Well,
absolutely.
Guys, I want to thank you all for joining us. I want to encourage everybody to look at the Museum of UnCutFunk.com. It's some very interesting content there. It really deals with our influences on the popular culture. It talks about blaxploitation and everything else, and you can reminisce if you were around from back in Turtell's era with these star children of the 70s, Pam and Lorene. We'll be right back.